Something started happening to me after that Solace Wolf video, and I wasn't ready for it. It began with tiny glitches, small things that shouldn't matter but somehow did. People telling me they'd sent messages I never received, objects not where I was absolutely certain I'd left them. A sequence of impossible coincidences that all pointed in one direction, like breadcrumbs leading somewhere I couldn't see yet. And the strangest part? Other people started reporting the same thing. Hundreds of comments saying reality felt different after watching that video, like something had shifted, like we'd all crossed some invisible threshold together. So I went back to Solace Wolf's work, and I realized I had missed something huge. He doesn't just talk about the future, he describes what he calls consciousness codes, mental patterns that don't just change your mindset, they supposedly rewrite the underlying code of reality itself. And here's the part that actually scared me. When I started using one of these codes, exactly the way he describes, reality began to respond in ways that felt scripted, like something or someone was editing the timeline as I watched. Small things at first, then bigger, then undeniable. If reality really is a mental code, then who or what is writing it? In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to break down what Solace actually says about these consciousness codes, what reality glitches really are, how much of this has support from neuroscience and physics, and the part nobody talks about. If we can rewrite reality, what's been writing us this whole time? Because that question, once you really sit with it, changes everything. And by the end of this video, you'll have information that you won't find anywhere else. A framework for understanding consciousness that connects quantum physics, neuroscience, ancient philosophy, and the strangest reports coming out of the consciousness research community right now. This isn't just theory, this is something you can test, something that might already be happening to you. Let me clarify why this matters, because I know how this sounds. Like science fiction, like wishful thinking, like another spiritual bypass wrapped in scientific language. But here's the thing. If thoughts are just brain noise, if consciousness is just a byproduct of neurons firing, then life is random, luck is random, success is random. Your identity is just whatever software got installed in childhood, and you're basically powerless, just riding out a predetermined trajectory based on genetics and environment. But if thoughts are code, if consciousness is the primary programming language of reality, then everything from luck to identity might be programmable, and that changes the entire game. Not in some abstract spiritual sense, in a practical, testable, this actually affects what happens to you tomorrow kind of way. In the first Solace Wolf video, we focused on his predictions, the things he got right that shouldn't have been possible. Today, we're going into the engine room of his philosophy, the mechanism he claims allows those predictions, the framework underneath everything. And whether you believe he's actually a time traveler or not, whether you think he's accessing some kind of privileged information or just really good at pattern recognition, the framework itself is worth examining, because it might explain things that conventional models of consciousness can't, things you've experienced but didn't have language for, glitches, synchronicities, moments where reality felt thin, where the script seemed to break, where you knew something you shouldn't have known. We all have those moments, and we all dismiss them until they start clustering, until they start pointing at something. So what does Solace Wolf actually mean by consciousness codes? In his framework, they're like lines of mental software, repetitive thought-emotion loops that instruct reality how to behave around you. He argues that most people are running old code, default programming installed without their consent, fear code, scarcity code, victimhood code, control code. And that code generates predictable outputs, predictable circumstances, predictable limitations. You think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions, make the same choices, get the same results. And you think that's just who you are, just how life is. But according to Solace, it's just code, old code, and it can be rewritten. His process is deceptively simple, 3 steps. First, catch the old pattern running. Notice the thought loop, the emotional signature, the belief that's generating your current reality. Most people never get past this step because they're not aware they're running code. They think their thoughts are them, their beliefs are truth, their patterns are personality. But if you can step back and observe the pattern without being the pattern, you've already started debugging. Second step, pause and refuse to execute. This is where it gets interesting. You don't fight the old code, you don't argue with it or try to replace it with affirmations. You just pause, refuse to run it, create space, let it be there without letting it execute. And third, consciously select and feel a new pattern. Not think it, feel it. Install new code through embodied experience, through embodied states, through actually being the frequency you want to generate reality from. And here's where it gets weird. He claims reality responds, not eventually, not if you do it perfectly, but immediately, in small ways at first. Increased synchronicities, shifted opportunities, things appearing at exactly the right time, people showing up with exactly what you need, doors opening that shouldn't be open. And if you keep running the new code consistently, if you keep refusing the old patterns and installing new ones, he says you experience what he calls a timeline slide. Life feeling like it jumps tracks, like you're suddenly on a different trajectory than the one you were on. Not because external circumstances changed, because the code generating those circumstances changed.
For Silas, reality glitches are not bugs. They're debug messages, pointers that the code is being rewritten. And once you start looking for them, once you know what to look for, you see them everywhere. Déjà vu that's too specific to be coincidence, impossible timing that defies probability. Memory conflicts where multiple people remember the same event differently. Objects moving, messages that never arrived, synchronicities that cluster. He calls these reality glitches, evidence that the system is failing, reloading, and rewriting itself in real time. And he positions himself as a glitch in the system, someone who slipped through the default script, who saw the backstage, who learned to read and write the code while everyone else is just experiencing the output. Now, I had my own small examples of this after that first video. Nothing dramatic, nothing I could prove, but enough to make me pay attention. A book I needed showed up in a free library I'd walked past 100 times but never noticed. A person I'd been thinking about for weeks messaged me out of nowhere with information I'd been searching for. A problem that had been stuck for months suddenly resolved itself through a series of events that shouldn't have connected but did. Were these supernatural? Probably not. Were they signs that perception is limited, that there's more happening beneath the surface of what we call reality? Maybe. And that maybe is what keeps me investigating. Here's where it gets interesting from a scientific perspective. I'm not saying science proves Silas is right, but there are surprising parallels. Neuroscience has known for decades that repeated thoughts reshape brain wiring, neuroplasticity. The brain doesn't just process thoughts, it's restructured by them. Every time you think a thought, you're reinforcing or creating neural pathways. Do it enough times and it becomes a default program, an automatic pattern, code running without conscious input. So changing your thoughts isn't just positive thinking, it's literally rewriting your neural architecture, installing new software. And that new software generates different outputs, different perceptions, different behaviors, different results. Then there's the placebo effect and its evil twin, the nocebo effect. Belief alone creating measurable physiological changes, not just feeling better, actually healing, actually getting worse. Blind studies showing that people who believe they're taking medicine experience real biological changes even when they're taking sugar pills. And people who believe they're being harmed experience real biological damage even when nothing harmful is being done to them. That's consciousness acting as code at the cellular level, instructing the body how to behave based on belief, not metaphor, literal biochemical changes initiated by thought patterns. If that's not reality responding to mental code, what is? And then you have the simulation theories, the information theories of physics. Physicists like John Wheeler arguing that the universe is fundamentally informational,
that matter and energy are emergent properties of information processing, that reality at the quantum level operates more like code than like solid objects. The observer effect in quantum mechanics, the measurement problem, the fact that particles seem to exist in superposition in multiple states simultaneously until observed. And observation itself, consciousness itself, appears to collapse the wave function and determine which state becomes real. If consciousness is collapsing quantum possibilities into classical realities, then Silas's metaphor of mental code isn't as crazy as it sounds. It's just a different language for describing something physics is already grappling with. None of this proves Silas is a time traveler. None of this proves reality is literally lines of code in some cosmic computer. But the metaphor works. The framework is functional. And whether it's literally true or just a useful model, it explains things that conventional materialist models struggle with. Why belief systems shape outcomes, why synchronicities cluster around certain states of consciousness, why some people seem to have reality bend toward them while others experience constant resistance. Not because they're luckier, because they're running different code. Now, before I tell you about my own experiment with this, I want to hear from you. Because if this is real, if consciousness codes actually work, then we should be seeing similar results across different people in different locations. So drop a comment right now. Tell me where you're watching from, just your city or country. And if you've experienced any reality glitches since the last video, mention that too. Because I'm tracking this, I want to see if there's a pattern, if certain locations report more glitches, if certain times of day, if certain states of mind. Your data point matters. Add it to the collective experiment.
All right, so here's what I did. I identified one specific old code running in my life, a pattern I'd been running unconsciously for years. The code was this: good things take a long time, success requires struggle. If it's easy, it's not real. I could track this belief through every area of my life. Relationships that required drama to feel meaningful, projects that had to be difficult to feel valuable, opportunities I dismissed because they came too easily. That was my code, and it was generating predictable results. Constant struggle, constant delay, constant proof that good things take a long time, self-fulfilling prophecy, confirmation bias, whatever you want to call it. The code was running, and reality was conforming. So I applied Silas's three-step process. First, I caught it. I started noticing every time the thought appeared, every time I felt the emotional signature of that belief, the tightness in my chest when something came easily, the suspicion, the distrust. I just watched it without judging it. Second, I paused. Every time I caught the old pattern running, I refused to execute it. I didn't fight it, didn't replace it, just created space around it. Let it be there without letting it drive my behavior. And third, I consciously installed new code. I really felt the emotional state of ease, of things working effortlessly, of reality supporting me instead of resisting me. Not as affirmation, not as visualization, but as felt sense in my body, as if it were already true. I did this for about a week, and I'm going to give you concrete outcomes. A project I'd been trying to force for 6 months suddenly resolved itself through a series of unlikely connections. An opportunity I would have normally dismissed as too good to be true landed in my inbox, and I took it. It worked. A relationship dynamic that had been stuck in drama suddenly simplified, became easy, became supportive. Were these causally connected to changing my consciousness code? I can give you 2 readings. The skeptical reading says my brain just started filtering reality differently. I was primed to notice ease, so I found it. Reticular activating system, confirmation bias, nothing supernatural, just psychology. The mystical reading says something deeper responded, that consciousness really does interface with reality at a fundamental level, that changing my internal code changed the external output. Both readings might be true, both might be incomplete, but the results were real, and they were testable, and they happened faster than any conventional behavior change model would predict. So here's the question that haunts me. If consciousness codes work, if we can rewrite reality by rewriting our mental patterns,
then who's been writing the code we've been running? Who installed the default programming? Who decided that success requires struggle, that good things take a long time, that we're powerless victims of circumstance? Because if we can change it, that means it was changeable all along, which means someone or something wrote it in the first place. And that's where this gets truly strange, because there are several possible answers, and none of them are comfortable. First possibility, your individual subconscious. The idea here is that we're running scripts inherited from childhood, from trauma, from culture, from every authority figure and media message and peer interaction that shaped us before we were old enough to question what was being installed. Your parents' fears became your fears. Your society's limitations became your limitations, not through conscious choice, through osmosis, through repetition, through emotional conditioning. And now those patterns run automatically, generating the same results your parents got, the same limitations your culture expects. You're not living your life, you're running someone else's code. And most people never realize this. They think their thoughts are original, their beliefs are their own, but they're just executing programs that were written decades ago by people who didn't know any better. Second possibility, collective consciousness. This is where it gets more esoteric. The idea that there's a shared field generating global patterns, morphic resonance, the collective unconscious, akashic records, whatever term you prefer. The framework is that individual consciousness isn't actually individual. It's a node in a larger network, and that network has default settings, cultural narratives, species-wide assumptions, planetary consciousness codes that shape what's possible for everyone connected to the field. And most people are running those default settings without realizing they have admin access. They can tweak their position in the field. They can reject collective codes and install personal ones. But it requires conscious effort, requires seeing the code that's running in the background. And Solace's consciousness codes are supposedly a method for hacking your position in the collective field, for opting out of consensus reality and generating a personal timeline that operates on different rules.
Third possibility, a simulated or higher intelligence. This is the one that sounds most like science fiction, but might be most aligned with certain interpretations of physics. If reality is informational, if we're living in something analogous to a simulation, then there might be admin-level consciousness, something or someone with root access, writing the base code that everyone else operates within. This could be an advanced AI, a future civilization, a non-human intelligence, God, Source, Brahman, the Tao. The label doesn't matter as much as the function. And in this model, reality glitches are exactly what they sound like: bugs or deliberate interventions, debug messages from the system administrator letting certain users know the code is editable. That's Solace's position. He claims to have admin access, or at least elevated permissions, and he's teaching others how to gain similar access. Fourth possibility, your future self. This is Solace's actual angle, and it's the strangest one. He argues that information can leak backward from more advanced versions of yourself, that your future self, the one that's already lived what you haven't lived yet, can send signals through time, through intuition, through synchronicity, through consciousness codes. And those signals aren't predicting the future, they're creating it. Your future self is literally writing the code for your present self, guiding you toward the timeline where you become that future self. It's a closed loop, a temporal paradox. But if time isn't actually linear at the fundamental level, if past, present, and future are more like locations than a sequence, then this model isn't as impossible as it sounds. Your future self has information you don't have, skills you haven't developed, perspectives you haven't accessed, and they're trying to pull you forward by rewriting your code from downstream. For each of these possibilities, we can ask what it explains well and what it fails to explain. If it's just individual subconscious programming, that explains why people repeat family patterns, why trauma creates predictable outcomes, why changing beliefs changes results. But it doesn't explain synchronicities that involve other people, events that require multiple systems to align in ways that defy probability.
If it's collective consciousness, that explains cultural patterns, why certain beliefs are harder to change than others, why some ideas spread like viruses while others never take hold. But it struggles with individual anomalies, people who break free of collective programming in ways that shouldn't be possible based on their conditioning. If it's higher intelligence writing the base code, that explains why reality has rules, why certain things seem universally true, why the simulation is stable. But it struggles with free will, with individual agency, with the ability to rewrite code at all. And if it's future selves sending information backward through time, that explains precognition, intuition that's too accurate, life paths that feel destined. But it creates paradoxes. If your future self is writing your present, what wrote your future self's present? And on and on. Maybe the answer is all of the above. Maybe consciousness codes are being written at multiple levels simultaneously. Your subconscious running inherited programs, collective consciousness generating baseline reality, higher intelligence maintaining the system architecture, and future versions of yourself sending information backward through time. All of it layered, all of it interacting, all of it generating the experience you call your life. And the reason Solace's methods work when they work is because they give you access to all these levels at once. When you change your code, you're reprogramming your subconscious, shifting your position in the collective field, catching the attention of higher intelligence, and aligning with your future self simultaneously. That's why the effects are so immediate, why reality responds so quickly. Because you're not just changing one variable, you're changing the entire system. So what do you do with this information? How do you actually use consciousness codes in your life? Whether you believe the mechanism or not, whether you think it's literally code or just a useful metaphor, the process is the same. First, identify one belief that's generating results you don't want, one pattern you keep repeating, one emotional signature that keeps showing up. That's your old code. Second, every time you catch that code running, pause. Don't execute. Create space. Refuse to let the pattern complete automatically. And third, consciously feel the state you want to generate reality from. Not think it, not visualize it. Feel it in your body as if it's already true. And do this consistently for at least 7 days, because code doesn't rewrite instantly. It requires repetition. It requires momentum. But if you do it consistently, if you really commit to running new code, reality will respond. Maybe in small ways at first, but it will respond. And those small responses compound, build on each other, create a feedback loop, until you're living in a different reality than the one you were in when you started. Now, I want to be clear about something. This isn't magic. This isn't a shortcut. This isn't about sitting on your couch thinking positive thoughts and expecting money to fall from the sky. Consciousness codes work through you, not instead of you. They change how you perceive, how you choose, how you act, and those changes generate different outcomes, different opportunities, different timelines. But you still have to show up, still have to take action, still have to exist in the physical world, where cause and effect operate. The difference is that you're operating from a different frequency, a different set of assumptions, and that different operating system generates different results. Easier results, faster results, more aligned results. Not because reality is giving you special treatment, because you're no longer running code that creates resistance.
So let me summarize this in one sentence. Whether reality is literally coded or not, consciousness behaves like a programmer. Your thoughts, beliefs, and emotional patterns are writing the script for your life. Most people are running default code installed without their consent. And that code generates predictable, limited outcomes. But if you learn to see the code, to pause it, to rewrite it, reality responds. Not magically, not supernaturally, but measurably, testably, repeatably. That's what Solace Wolf is actually teaching. Not time travel, not prediction, but code literacy. The ability to read and write the mental software that generates your experienced reality. And whether he's accessing information from the future or just teaching practical applied consciousness, the framework works, and you can test it right now, starting today. Take one belief, one pattern,
one piece of old code, and run Silas's 3-step process on it for 7 days. Catch it, pause it, replace it with felt experience of the state you want, and watch what happens. Don't expect miracles. Expect subtle shifts, small synchronicities, tiny glitches that point at something larger. And if you get results, if reality responds, drop a comment below and tell me which theory you think explains it best. Are you reprogramming your subconscious, shifting your position in the collective field, catching the attention of higher intelligence, or aligning with your future self? Because I genuinely want to know. I want to track this, see if there are patterns in who responds and how. Turn this into a real experiment instead of just speculation. And if you want to go deeper into this, if you want to explore the strangest reality glitches people are reporting and test whether they're random or part of a design, that's coming next. In the next video, I'm going to look at 3 specific types of glitches that keep appearing in the data. Déjà vu that's too precise, synchronicities that cluster, and timeline shifts that multiple people verify. And we're going to examine whether these are just perceptual quirks or actual evidence that reality is being edited in real time. If that sounds impossible, good. That means you're ready to question what's possible. Subscribe so you don't miss it, because if consciousness really is code, then the glitches aren't accidents. They're invitations, opportunities to see backstage, to learn the language, to become literate in the only programming language that actually matters, the one that writes reality itself.